Coming up right next, he went missing suddenly, disappearing without a trace on an Arizona highway right outside of Buckeye, Arizona. Not a single trace of evidence has been discovered of him ever since that time. But more and more people have been wondering what is truly going on with Daniel Robinson. And so, of course, this video is going to attempt to give a very, very vital update on the Daniel Robinson case overall, the situation of where it stands, and what we can expect that's going to come out of the very interesting, mysterious, but nonetheless true story of the Daniel Robinson missing person case. Thank you again. There'll be more attention to this now since a lot of other things are going on. They aren't going to remove the priority of having updates on Daniel Robinson. Thanks again, right here, the JTC channel. Till next time. How did Daniel Robinson disappear? On June 6th, Daniel started working at a job site in the Arizona desert near the intersection of West Cactus Road and Sun Valley Parkway, north of Buckeye, Arizona. He was last seen on June 23rd, testing groundwater right nearby. At approximately 9:15 a.m., Daniel left the testing site in his blue 2017 Jeep Renegade. According to reports, his colleagues were not aware of why he left the site or where he intended to go. They do believe he was driving west into the desert, according to the family's GoFundMe campaign. After Daniel drove away, he disappeared and has not ever been heard from since that time. Although Daniel Robinson was known to travel spontaneously, it was always after first communicating those plans with his family. After he drove off, Daniel disappeared and has not been heard from since that time. Although a missing person report was immediately filed, law enforcement as well as Daniel's family have not heard anything. According to some unverified discussions, there have been no signs of bank or phone activity of Daniel Robinson since that day. Daniel's phone was either turned off or out of range, potentially inside another location, because it was not sending out any kind of location data when the ping traces were done. Arizona's Civil Patrol operated a large air and land search of the whole area on July 9th near Daniel Robinson's job site. Now remember, his job site is directly near where this construction zone is, all the construction workers have been doing these activities at. The search they conducted included 4 sweeps by CAP aircraft and ground search. At the time, neither Robinson nor his car were found. Buckeye police also brought in the ground search crew, including caviter dogs. The situation became perplexing when Daniel Robinson's Jeep was located in a ravine 4 miles southwest of the job site. 1 month later, on July 19th, the vehicle had sustained damage and had seemingly rolled down a then 20-foot ravine before landing on the side. Daniel's personal items, his cell phone, wallet, and keys were inside. The airbags deployed, and it appeared as if the driver had been wearing his seatbelt at the time of the crash. Some of Daniel's clothes were found near the Jeep as well. Given the state of the Jeep and the nature of its recovery, police have declared they do not believe foul play was involved in Daniel's disappearance. At this point, though, it cannot be ruled out. Although reports suggest Daniel may have been acting peculiar leading up to the disappearance, police do not believe anything untoward went on. First, although the vehicle has been recovered, there is no sign of Daniel anywhere after the car crashed. Although some remains were found nearby, they were identified to be other missing animals and missing people, and not ever Daniel. Although it is not surprising that Daniel might have removed his safety vest, The removal of his boots is a much different story. If the boots located near his vehicle were work boots, it seems very unlikely he would have stopped and removed them before leaving the work site for no reason. Third, Daniel Robinson was familiar with working and traveling through difficult geographical and natural conditions. Even if injured in the accident, he would likely have known to take his phone out, as it would leave signs to where he was heading if he needed to get help. And it would also show which direction he was walking to head back towards the job site if he found a way out later. Fourth, if police and the CAP searched the area on July 9th, why has the car not ever located anything in the covered area? It was 4 miles walking distance, and even shorter in transport. Police said the ground consisted of rough terrain, making it hard for them to locate the vehicle until a local rancher spotted it. However, published images do not appear to show the vehicle being hard to spot. Fifth, a professional accident reconstructionist, Jeff McGrath, did a reconstruction of the event, and it shows that the damage to the vehicle do not align with any kind of way it was positioned. The vehicle was driven an additional 11 miles after the airbags were deployed. And this is extremely suspicious. Yes, it is very suspicious. And you know what else is also suspicious, folks? That's right. There is an interesting cave here that really is not more than maybe a half hour to 45 minutes by hike, or if you're running, out of that area of Surprise, Arizona, and it's called the Pepper Sauce Cave, right? We didn't know about this. I guarantee very few knew anything about this. I did not know about this, all right? So there is this cave out here. And this is an unusual cave, kind of just like what I've been talking about originally. There's unidentified strangers in the area, that's fine. But this cave, and you are going to find out why, this cave may play quite a role in this affair. Make sure to get the word out there and spread it far and wide, because a lot more people need to be paying attention to the Daniel Robinson case, especially now that we're getting real breakthroughs in it. Thank you. And so, some folks have still been wondering, and have asked questions recently actually, whether or not I believe that Daniel Robinson in this kind of situation may have run into a cave. And I've actually expanded upon this a little bit in an earlier video of mine, that I do in fact believe Daniel Robinson not only ran into a cave, I believe I can potentially prove that Daniel Robinson was inside of a cave because of the circumstances that occurred around that exact stretch of road. And that stretch of road crosses what's known as the Wolf Trailhead. And when you look at that and you kind of stand back from it and take a real closer examination, the Wolf Trailhead runs along this kind of range area where you can see numerous caves. We're talking about, older caves that haven't been inhabited for probably going on 20 plus years. And these caves jut out from the various intersections kind of across the road where Daniel Robinson basically disappeared. So, I do believe that he went into one of these caves. I do not, at this point, believe that he stayed in the cave. Okay? But I do believe that it can be proven now he did, in fact, go into one of these caves. And we have to remember, the suspect who thus far has started to be investigated in Arizona, named Eric Mays, has run into numerous car wrecks before. He's had more than several accidents on his record. And when each of these incidents would occur, he would automatically hit somebody, for example. it would generate a report and would generate more information that would be gathered in the area for the tracking zone that he was in. So, and I'm kind of showing here just a little bit of an example of the cave that I'm more or less speaking about here. But this is one of those caves that come out kind of from the Wolf Trailhead area. And as you can see, there's no telling what would occur in reality if Daniel Robinson, just happened to go ahead and walk into one of these caves. And of course, sometimes caves have water sources, but this particular cave, was a lot darker. There was a lot more mystery about this cave. So I suspect it would be a cave that he just kind of got holed up in, not knowingly and not like it was wanted, but that he got holed up in there for a while. It also says in the record reports, as far as from what I've read, that Eric Mays and this other suspect, who I believe now is most likely involved in Daniel Robinson's essential disappearance, were infamous for, in their earlier years, going hiking in caves, going and exploring actual caves. And so this particular cave, it has a very interesting entrance. There's a lot of rocks in the area, a lot of debris inside the cave. You can see kind of stalactite type of compounds that have been broken down. And so I conceive that it's very, very feasible at this point that Daniel Robinson may have gotten trapped in one of these caves, essentially. And, it's been brought up before also about certain animals. And so mountain lions, will come to these areas quite frequently, and they'll be foraging around, looking for certain things. So that's always possible as well, no question. But he would have gone into one of these caves and likely would have been trapped, I would say, inside the exterior kind of lower part of the cave for a while. And assuming he's still alive, because I've never really seen any true indication to the contrary that he's, not still alive, essentially, and assuming that he's still out there at least, or something related to Daniel Robinson is out there right now, then this cave, explanation starts to make a lot more sense. And it seems like he would have probably foraged for supplies while in the cave, and then he started to drift away, to get out of there pretty quickly, because people like Eric Mays and like Mr. Sexton, who frequented this area, they don't wait around. If they know somebody is vulnerable, they're going to go after him pretty quickly. And if he was going in and out of the caves, like I'm saying in the approach here, you can see kind of from some of the pictures I'm showing of the actual cave as far as what they look like, then it's very possible he would have left behind something, some kind of clothing, some kind of supplies or something from inside the cave. Because I have no question that he's not inside a cave right now. But what I've pointed out before, and what I believe can potentially be proven now, is he was inside one of these caves. And also, of course, when you go in there, if you don't have any supplies, if you don't have a way to be able to look and track really what's going on, you've got to be able to start a fire. That's the number one thing. And so I believe if they find some kind of remains such as tinder wood or flint sticks or similar that I've kind of brought up for other cases before, I believe they're going to find essentially something and some kind of clue related directly to Daniel Robinson at this point. And so, when you look at the mouth of the cave is very, very abrasive. Like, you wouldn't want to go in there. You wouldn't even want to be caught taking your brother or anybody inside. But once you get inside the lip of the cave and you're further down into the construct there, it seems very welcoming. And there's at least two different directions which it'll jut into. So there's a fork in the road, and knowing most people who get into that kind of situation, they're going to want to, explore and check out the fork in the road. And so that's what I believe what essentially occurred with Daniel Robinson. He may have wanted to explore it. May not have been the best idea, But we'll talk about that a little more after. Thank you. Okay, so this is going to be a bit unusual because what's been going on here is kind of navigated my way over into this area. This is an area that's basically directly next to Buckeye, Arizona, kind of outside on the outskirts of that town. And it's near this place called Cave Creek Wash Trail. Cave Creek Wash Trail. It's not even a few miles from Buckeye, essentially. Buckeye and Surprise, Arizona. And this is going to be kind of unusual because it's the first time I've really been over here in this area, and I've been investigating certain things. Like Eric Mays and his associates would apparently hang out in this particular area over here back in the older days. They would go over here to Cave Creek Trail for some reason. And so this interesting area is highly unusual, but it's very relevant to the Daniel Robinson case because, you know, I've always felt like there were certain things that people were just missing. And I feel like it could definitely be possible because I've gotten the impression for some time now that Daniel Robinson could have escaped kind of what he was dealing with. And for some reason or another, I was kind of guided over here. He could have gotten over into this area here by Cave Creek Trail. And I've mentioned it just kind of jokingly before that maybe Daniel Robinson went into a cave, but I'm actually quite serious about that. That's in this video now this time, you know, because I'm really interested in finding key clues and finding truly what happened to Daniel Robinson. And so, believe it or not, I was guided over to this area, and this is very unusual. And I'm not sure what to think really about it yet. But this is a strange kind of cabin area, and it's going to be the first time anybody's ever seen anything to do with the inside of this. This is unusual for a myriad of reasons. Not least of which there's not really any identifying information of where this place is. It's like a special alcove called the Crown Course or Crown King or something. And it's right there directly by the Cave Creek Trail, which is outside of Buckeye, Arizona. And so if he was traveling, you know, in that area, and I confirmed that one of the Jones family apparently visited this area before as well. But if Daniel Robinson was getting out of the area, in other words, for some reason, and he was able to get away from Surprise, Arizona, by whatever means, you know, hitchhiking or anything, get out of the desert, believe it or not that far away from the outskirts of Buckeye and the truck stop at Surprise is this just unusual Crown King lodging area. And it's very odd. You know, like I said, it's the first time this is really going to be seen by anybody. And, you know, I have wondered, and I've gotten the impression before, maybe he did escape to one of these establishments, and he stopped in to visit it for a bit. Because the strangest thing about this area in particular is there are no real labels on things. It's like if you wanted to get lost and get in a hole in the wall to get away from somebody and disappear for a while, this place right here would do the trick. not a monastery. I hear all the theories, people think he went to a monastery and similar, but this particular place, it's very quiet, it's very remote, it's odd to say the least. It's odd to see certain suspects that worked at the construction company would visit this particular spot too, apparently. And so there are some strange things that can be gathered from this. Number one is there's no labels here. We don't know exactly what this place is, to be clear. And there isn't really any security. So if somebody just wanted to disappear for a while, it's kind of fun, but it's kind of odd at the same time. They could potentially disappear into one of these little havens in the oasis of the desert, so to speak. It's like a hole in the wall, all the way out here, right outside Surprise, Arizona. Almost no one is ever attending the front, and there's not really much security at all around this place for some reason, and it is strange because everything here is perfectly green, whereas if you go out about 5,000 or 10,000 feet, everything is a desert, literally. And so I've been kind of questioning about this area. They call it the Crown King lodging spot. And there's this fascinating little alcove in the trees where somebody, if they wanted to disappear, could literally disappear in there for a long time, probably. And the more I look at it, I just, I'm putting two and two together, and I'm starting to realize Daniel Robinson definitely may have had a more eventful trip than we think. And we may not be able to find Summer Wells necessarily because it may be too long. Unfortunately, it'll be another case where we have to find out what happened in the aftermath. But I have gotten the impression for some reason we may find Daniel Robinson. Perfectly fine still. But as to how or why he would come out to this particular area, again, it's only a few miles, believe it or not, from Surprise, Arizona. So he could very well have had his reasons for possibly going out into this very, very strange meadow area if he just wanted to make sure he disappeared off the grid entirely, for a while. And even if someone caught him or something, he could still go back in there because of there's no security there, and it's just like you can go in and out of this like garden type of area. So I'll be examining that for a while, but I'm also examining, I have to tell you, I'm examining, folks, the Cave Creek Trail and what's been going on here in the area around Buckeye, Arizona with the Cave Creek Trail. Because there's something that just doesn't add up. It's like, yeah, he could have gone out into the desert and just vanished and all that, but the more and more I look at it, I feel like it's clear, it's getting very, very clear to me, especially with some of the recent information I found out with the construction site and similar things, that he may be hiding out somewhere. Like he found a place to literally hide out. And rightly so, that's why I say he may have gone into a place that we haven't considered before. And like a cave is a place that you generally wouldn't consider anybody out here in Arizona would go into. But the more and more that I've examined this, and I've started to really break apart the pieces here, it very well may fit into this puzzle. So there's more that needs to really be explored. Thank you. Let's make sure to get the word out on Daniel Robinson. I most importantly want to hear updates on that case. People start talking about it more. Thank you. So in conclusion, what do we know here? Is it likely that Daniel Robinson just met with an accident and just entirely disappeared and so forth. No. I would say now it's very, very highly likely that Daniel Robinson did not just meet with an accident, and that he may in fact be hiding out. Is what needed to be looked at. And this is interesting. This is kind of the zip line type of special zip line they set up, which is about 100 or about 90 to 100 miles away from kind of the original crash site. And so, I find that very interesting, is all I'll say about that. Is it likely that he would have gone out of his way, long distance, and ended up traveling to these caves? Well, no, it isn't likely. But at the same time, you can't rule it out, and it's not unlikely either, because the distance is not that far, and we're talking about the fact that he would have stayed the whole entire time in the desert, because that's what we believe it's all it is over there is desert. But now, when you take a step back and really examine the whole picture, this is far from a desert. Out here, there's a lot of mountains, and there are caves, in those mountains. And so, again, it's very, very possible that he would have gone into one of these areas, since the proximity is so much closer than we thought. Unusual, yes, but not unheard of. So again, I appreciate you getting the case out there, far and wide. Let's get Daniel Robinson's message out there. The more we spread the news, the more we get the word out there, the faster that this case will finally be solved. Appreciate it. Until next time, JTC Channel.